What if the secret to unshakable confidence, razor-sharp focus, and a life of purpose lies not in chasing external success, but in mastering your own mind? Welcome to Zenlight 8, where we dive deep into the timeless wisdom of Stoicism to uncover practical tools for transforming your life. In today's video, we'll explore 3 powerful principles: focus yourself, believe yourself, act yourself, that the Stoics used to conquer chaos and build inner strength. Ready to stop reacting to the world and start shaping your destiny? Let's get started. In a world that screams for your attention, endless notifications, trending headlines, the constant hum of comparison, it's easy to feel like you're drowning in noise. Your phone pings, your inbox overflows, and somewhere in the chaos, your own voice gets lost. But what if you could cut through that clutter, silence the distractions, and reclaim the power to shape your life from within? That's the promise of Stoicism, a philosophy not of grand gestures or fleeting motivation, but of quiet, deliberate strength. At its heart lie 3 unshakable pillars: focus yourself, believe yourself, act yourself. These are not just abstract ideas, they're a blueprint for living with purpose, for building a life where you're not a passenger but the driver. Today, let's dive into these principles, not as dusty lessons from ancient Rome, but as vibrant, practical tools to navigate the modern world with clarity and courage. Start with focus. The Stoics understood something we're only beginning to rediscover. Your attention is your most precious asset. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced wars and betrayals, wrote in his Meditations that you must guard your mind against the trivial, choosing instead what aligns with your purpose. In today's America, that wisdom feels more urgent than ever. Think about your average morning. Before you've even brushed your teeth, you're scrolling through social media, bombarded by ads, opinions, and curated lives that make yours feel small. Studies show we check our phones 96 times a day on average, each glance pulling us away from what matters. The Stoics would call this slavery, not to chains but to a fractured mind. A mind that can't focus is a mind that serves someone else's agenda, whether it's a tech giant profiting off your clicks or a coworker's drama stealing your peace. But focus isn't just saying no to distractions. It's saying yes to what ignites your soul. Imagine a young woman named Sarah, a single mom in Chicago working 2 jobs. Her days are a whirlwind: bills, daycare, deadlines. Yet every night, she carves out 15 minutes to write. She dreams of publishing a novel, but the world keeps tugging at her attention. One evening, exhausted, she reaches for her phone to zone out. Instead, she pauses, sets it down, and picks up her notebook. That choice, to write 1 sentence instead of scrolling, is focus in action. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Over months, those sentences become pages, then chapters. Sarah's focus isn't perfect, but it's deliberate. She's not just dreaming, she's building. Focus is like a muscle, it strengthens through resistance. The Stoics trained themselves to notice what deserved their energy and what didn't. Epictetus, once a slave who became a philosopher, taught that you can't control the world's noise, but you can control where you aim your mind. Try this. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, write down 1 thing that matters deeply to you. Maybe it's learning a skill, nurturing a relationship, or simply finding 5 minutes of stillness. Let that be your anchor when the day's chaos pulls at you, and it will. Ask yourself, does this serve my anchor? If it doesn't, let it go. This isn't about rigid perfection. It's about reclaiming your power, 1 intentional choice at a time. Now, let's talk about believing in yourself. Not the shallow confidence of affirmations or viral self-help quotes, but a deep, earned trust in your own worth. The Stoics didn't believe self-belief was a gift you're born with. They saw it as a fire you kindle through action. Seneca, a Stoic advisor to emperors, wrote that you become what you practice. Doubt is a universal human experience, whispering that you're not enough, not smart enough, not talented enough, not something enough. In America, where success is often measured by followers, paychecks, or likes, that whisper can feel like a shout. But self-belief isn't found in external validation. It's forged in the quiet moments when you choose to show up for yourself. Consider James, a college dropout in Atlanta who always wanted to start a business. He grew up hearing he'd never amount to much, and for years he believed it. One day he stumbles across a Stoic idea. Every choice is a vote for the person you want to be. So he starts small. He enrolls in a free online course on entrepreneurship. When self-doubt creeps in, telling him he's too far behind, he pushes through, studying 1 hour each night. Each lesson completed, each fear faced, is a brick in the foundation of his belief. 2 years later, James launches a small coffee shop. It's not Starbucks, but it's his. The business isn't the real victory. It's the man he's become, someone who trusts himself to keep going, no matter the odds. This kind of belief isn't loud or showy. It's not about posting your wins online or waiting for applause. It's about the private victories, finishing a workout when you're exhausted, speaking up in a meeting when your voice shakes, apologizing when pride begs you to stay silent. These moments, unseen by the world, are where you prove to yourself that you're capable. The Stoics knew that self-belief compounds like interest in a bank account. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you deposit trust in yourself. Over time, those deposits build a wealth no one can take away. Finally, action, the bridge between dreams and reality. The Stoics weren't armchair philosophers. They lived their teachings. Seneca warned that knowledge without action is just words on a page. In a culture obsessed with planning, vision boards, and someday, action is what sets you apart. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. It's about starting where you are with what you have. Take Maria, a teacher in Seattle who felt stuck in her career. She dreamed of becoming a counselor but kept delaying, waiting for confidence or clarity. Then she read Epictetus. You have power over your mind, not outside events. So she took one step, signed up for a weekend workshop on counseling. It was terrifying, imperfect, but it was motion. That step led to another, then another. Today, Maria's a licensed counselor, not because she had all the answers, but because she dared to act. Action doesn't mean reckless leaps. It means consistent, intentional steps. The Stoics believed that every action shapes your character. When you hit snooze instead of jogging, you're not just skipping a run, you're voting for stagnation. But when you lace up your shoes, even if you only jog a block, you're voting for growth. In America, where instant gratification tempts us at every turn, action is a rebellion. It's saying, I won't wait for permission or inspiration. I'll build my life, one choice at a time. These 3 pillars, focus, belief, action, are not separate. They weave together like threads in a tapestry. Focus clears the path, belief fuels the journey, and action moves you forward. They're not quick fixes but lifelong practices, rooted in the Stoic truth that your life's quality depends not on what happens to you, but on how you respond. In a world that thrives on scattering your mind, doubting your worth, and delaying your dreams, these principles are your armor. They remind you that you're not a victim of circumstance. You're a creator of possibility. As we stand on this foundation, we're ready to explore deeper. How do we protect our focus when distractions multiply? How do we nurture belief when doubt feels overwhelming? And how do we act with courage when fear holds us back? Let's take the next step together. Focus as the bedrock of freedom. Imagine waking up to a world designed to pull you in 1,000 directions before you've even had your coffee. Your phone buzzes with notifications, texts, emails, a news alert about some distant crisis. You open Instagram, and suddenly you're comparing your life to a stranger's highlight reel. By the time you sit down to work, your mind is already a battlefield, cluttered with noise you didn't choose. This is modern life in America, where attention is the new currency, and everyone, corporations, influencers, even well-meaning friends, wants a piece of it. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who wrestled with their own chaotic world, would look at our screens and say, a mind that cannot focus is a mind enslaved. But they'd also offer hope. Focus isn't something you're born with or lose forever. It's a skill, a muscle you can train. And when you master it, you don't just reclaim your time, you reclaim your freedom. The Stoics saw focus as the foundation of a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius, scribbling in his tent during endless military campaigns, reminded himself to let go of what others were doing or saying, to zero in on what mattered most. Today, that advice feels like a lifeline. Studies from the University of California show we're interrupted every 3 minutes on average, by devices, coworkers, or our own wandering thoughts. Each interruption isn't just a blip. It's a thief, stealing your clarity and momentum. The result? A nation where 74% of adults report feeling overwhelmed by information overload, according to Pew Research. We're not just distracted. We're drowning, reactive instead of deliberate, scattered instead of centered. But distraction isn't just a tech problem. It's a spiritual one. The Stoics believed an unfocused mind isn't neutral. It's vulnerable, bending to whatever shouts loudest. Think of Emily, a graphic designer in Portland. She's talented, ambitious, but her days slip away in a haze of multitasking. Checking emails while sketching, scrolling Twitter during lunch, jumping between tabs like a pinball. By evening, she's exhausted, but her portfolio hasn't grown, and her big project sits untouched. She feels stuck, not because she lacks skill, but because her attention is a revolving door, open to every passing demand. The Stoics would tell Emily what they tell us all. You can't create a life of purpose if you don't guard the gate of your mind. Guarding that gate starts with intention. Focus doesn't mean locking yourself in a cabin with no Wi-Fi, though sometimes that sounds tempting. It means deciding every day what deserves your energy. The Stoics practiced this with ruthless clarity. Epictetus, who rose from slavery to philosophical renown, taught that you can't control the world's chaos, but you can control what you let in. Here's a practice to try. Every morning, before the day's noise begins, grab a notebook and write down 3 priorities. Not tasks, but anchors. Maybe it's finishing a work proposal, calling your mom to really listen, or spending 20 minutes learning something new. These aren't just to-dos. They're declarations of what matters to you. Keep them close, on a sticky note, in your phone's notes app, etched in your mind. When the inevitable distractions come, a coworker's gossip, a sale email, a viral video, pause and ask, does this align with my 3? If it doesn't, let it pass. This isn't about saying no to everything. It's about saying yes to what moves your life forward. This practice sounds simple, but it's revolutionary. Consider Jake, a high school teacher in Dallas. Overwhelmed by grading, meetings, and a side hustle, he felt like he was failing at everything. Then he started his morning anchor ritual. His 3 priorities one day: prepare 1 engaging lesson, exercise for 30 minutes, and read to his daughter at bedtime. When a colleague tried to rope him into an hour-long debate about school politics, Jake politely declined. It wasn't on his list. When his phone tempted him with sports highlights, he set it aside. His anchors came first. By evening, he'd taught a lesson his students loved, felt energized from his workout, and saw his daughter's eyes light up during story time. Jake didn't do everything, but he did what mattered. That's the power of focus. It doesn't just clear the clutter. It builds a life aligned with your values. Focus isn't passive. It's a daily act of defiance. In a culture that rewards busyness, choosing depth over breadth is radical. The Stoics knew this. They trained their minds to stay steady amid life's storms, whether it was a Roman battlefield or a crowded marketplace. Today, our battlefields are digital, but the principle holds. Every time you resist the pull of distraction, you strengthen your sovereignty. You're not just managing time, you're claiming freedom. Freedom to create, to connect, to grow into the person you're meant to be. But focus alone isn't enough. It's the foundation, the soil where the next pillar takes root. Belief in yourself. Without belief, even the sharpest focus can falter, like a compass without a true north. Let's explore how to build that unshakable trust in who you are and what you're capable of. Belief forged in small acts. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a dream. Maybe it's a new career, a healthier body, or simply a life where you feel proud of who you are. But a voice creeps in, quiet yet relentless. You're not enough. You'll fail. Why even try? That voice isn't unique to you. It's part of being human. In America, where success is plastered on billboards and social feeds, that doubt can feel like a weight you carry alone. The Stoics, though, saw doubt not as a curse but as an invitation to build belief, not through grand wins or external praise, but through the quiet, deliberate acts that shape who you become. Self-belief isn't something you find under a rock or borrow from a motivational quote. It's something you forge, day by day, in the crucible of your choices. The Stoics didn't preach blind confidence or arrogance. Seneca, a man who navigated the treacherous politics of Nero's court, wrote that you earn trust in yourself by doing what's right, even when it's hard. This isn't about feeling good all the time. Self-belief isn't a mood. It's a conviction, built brick by brick, through actions no one else may see. In a 2023 survey by Gallup, 60% of Americans said they struggle with self-confidence, often tying their worth to achievements or approval. The Stoics would shake their heads at this. They'd argue that true belief comes from within, from the moments when you prove to yourself, not the world, that you're capable. Take Lisa, a barista in Denver with a passion for photography. She's always loved capturing moments. The way sunlight hits a coffee cup, the laughter of strangers in a park. But she's never shared her work, paralyzed by thoughts of not being good enough. One day, she reads Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Inspired, she decides to act, not for likes or fame, but for herself. She posts one photo online, hands trembling as she hits share. The world doesn't stop. There's no flood of applause, but something shifts inside her. She did it. The next day, she posts another, then another. Each post is a vote, a small but undeniable signal to herself. I am someone who shows up. Months later, a local cafe asks to display her work. The exhibit isn't the real triumph. It's the belief she's built, one courageous click at a time. This is the Stoic secret. Every action, no matter how small, is a deposit in the bank of self-trust. When you keep a promise to yourself, waking up early to jog, finishing a report despite exhaustion, saying no to a toxic habit, you're not just checking a box. You're telling yourself, I can be relied upon. These moments compound, like interest quietly growing. The Stoics called this a moral obligation, not to others, but to the person you're becoming. In America, where we're bombarded with quick fixes and overnight success stories, this slow, steady work feels countercultural. But it's real. A 2022 study from Harvard found that small, consistent actions, like journaling or practicing gratitude, boost self-esteem more than sporadic big wins. The data backs the Stoics. Character isn't built in flashes of glory, but in the daily grind of showing up. Let's make this concrete. Think of David, a mechanic in Ohio who's always felt overshadowed by his more successful siblings. He's good with his hands but doubts his worth beyond fixing cars. One evening, he decides to try something new. He signs up for a woodworking class at a community center. The first session is awkward. He fumbles with tools, feels out of place. Doubt whispers he should quit. But David remembers Seneca's words, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." So he goes back. Each week, he carves a little better, learns a little more. He's not building furniture for HGTV, he's building himself. By the end of the course, he's crafted a small table for his mom. She tears up when he gives it to her, but the real gift is David's realization. I'm capable of more than I thought. His belief isn't tied to applause. It's rooted in the calluses on his hands, the evidence of his effort. These small acts aren't just tasks, they're declarations. When you choose to meditate for 5 minutes instead of doom scrolling, you're voting for calm. When you speak up in a meeting despite your racing heart, you're voting for courage. When you apologize after a mistake instead of deflecting, you're voting for integrity. The Stoics understood that these choices aren't isolated. They're threads weaving the fabric of your character. Ignore them and you unravel. Honor them and you become unbreakable. But here's the catch. Building belief requires facing discomfort. The Stoics didn't shy away from this. Epictetus taught that growth lies on the other side of fear. In America, we're sold the idea that confidence should feel easy, like slipping into a cozy sweater. The Stoics disagree. Confidence is gritty. It's showing up when you're tired, scared, or unsure. It's writing one paragraph of your novel when the blank page mocks you. It's going to the gym when your body begs for the couch. It's telling a friend, I need space. When people-pleasing feels safer. Each time you push through, you chip away at doubt, like a sculptor revealing the statue within the stone. Here's a practice to start today. Every evening, reflect on one choice you made that honored your values. Maybe you turned down a happy hour to finish a project. Maybe you listened to a colleague instead of zoning out. Write it down, not to brag, but to remind yourself, this is who I am. Over weeks, these notes become a ledger of proof, a testament to your reliability. In a world that measures worth by followers or bank accounts, this private record is your rebellion, a declaration that your value lies in your actions, not your accolades. Belief, like focus, isn't a destination, it's a practice. It's not about never doubting, it's about acting despite doubt. The Stoics knew that self-trust isn't loud or flashy. It's the quiet certainty that grows when you keep your word to yourself, when you face what's hard and come out stronger. It's the knowledge that you don't need the world's permission to be enough. You've already earned it, one small, deliberate act at a time. As we carry this belief forward, we face a new question. How do we turn focus and belief into motion? How do we bridge the gap between who we are and who we're meant to be? The answer lies in the next step, where obstacles become teachers, and action becomes transformation. Action as the key to overcoming fear and procrastination. We've all been there. Staring at a dream, a goal, or even a simple task, frozen by a knot in our stomach. Maybe it's the email you've rewritten 10 times, too scared to hit send. Maybe it's the gym membership you bought but haven't used, haunted by the thought of looking foolish. Or maybe it's a conversation you keep dodging, afraid of rejection or judgment. In those moments, the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels like a canyon, vast and unbridgeable. The Stoics, those ancient guides who faced their own fears in a turbulent world, understood this paralysis. They didn't sugarcoat it. They called hesitation the enemy of transformation. But they also gave us a way out, action. Not perfect, not grand, but deliberate, messy, courageous action. In a culture that glorifies planning and waiting for someday, the Stoic call to act is a thunderclap, reminding us that the only way to conquer fear and procrastination is to move. Right now, right here, with what you have. Fear and procrastination are universal, but in America, they're amplified by a paradox. We're told to chase big dreams, start a business, get fit, go viral, but we're also bombarded with warnings about failure. Social media shows us polished successes, leaving out the stumbles, so we assume everyone else has it figured out. A 2023 study from the American Psychological Association found that 65% of Americans cite fear of failure as a major barrier to pursuing goals. We procrastinate not because we're lazy, but because we're afraid of looking stupid, of falling short, of confirming that nagging voice that says we're not enough. The Stoics, like Seneca, saw through this. He wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Our minds amplify risks, spinning worst-case scenarios that keep us stuck. The antidote? Action, however small, because motion silences doubt in a way thinking never can." Let's meet Alex, a software developer in San Francisco with a side passion for stand-up comedy. For years, he's jotted down jokes, dreaming of an open mic night, but fear stops him cold. What if he bombs? What if the crowd stares in silence? He tells himself he'll perform when he's ready, but months turn into years. Then he stumbles across Epictetus' advice. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Alex realizes ready is a myth, so he signs up for an open mic, heart pounding. His 5-minute set isn't flawless. Some jokes land, others flop, but as he steps off the stage, something shifts. He didn't die. The fear was worse than the reality. That one imperfect performance unlocks a floodgate. He performs again, then again. 2 years later, he's a regular at local comedy clubs. Not because he's fearless, but because he acted despite fear. This is the Stoic truth. Action doesn't wait for courage. It creates it. The Stoics weren't reckless. They valued preparation. But they knew overthinking is often procrastination in disguise. In America, we're addicted to getting ready. We research endlessly, buy the perfect gear, wait for inspiration. The Stoics would call this a trap. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to do what's necessary, not what's comfortable. Action doesn't need to be epic. It just needs to be real. Sending that email you've dreaded. Doing 10 push-ups when you'd rather Netflix. Saying, "I'm sorry" when pride wants to win. These aren't headlines, they're revolutions, quiet votes for the person you're becoming. Why do small actions matter? Because they break the spell of inertia. A 2021 study from Stanford showed that starting a task, even for 5 minutes, reduces anxiety and builds momentum. The Stoics intuited this long ago. They saw life as a series of choices, each one shaping your character. When you delay, you're not just postponing a task, you're reinforcing a habit of avoidance. But when you act, you're carving a new path. Take Sarah, a nurse in Miami who wants to run a marathon but hasn't jogged since high school. The idea overwhelms her, so she starts tiny, 1 mile 3 times a week. Some days she barely shuffles, but each step chips away at her fear of failure. 6 months later, she runs a half marathon, not because she's a natural athlete, but because she chose motion over hesitation. Her body changed, but her mind transformed. She trusts herself to start, even when it's hard. Action also dismantles the fear of judgment, a beast that looms large in our connected world. Posting your art online, pitching an idea at work, asking someone out, these invite scrutiny, and in America, where opinions fly fast on X or TikTok, that can feel paralyzing. The Stoics, like Epictetus, taught indifference to others' views. Be content to be thought foolish, he said. When you act despite judgment, you reclaim your power. Consider Mia, a college student in Boston who loves writing poetry but fears sharing it. Classmates might mock her. Followers might scroll past. One day, she posts a single poem on her blog, palms sweaty. A few friends comment, some strangers like it, others ignore it. The world keeps turning. That small act, clicking publish, teaches Mia that judgment isn't the end. She keeps posting, and her voice grows stronger, not because everyone loves her work, but because she loves who she's becoming. Here's a practice to try. Pick one thing you've been avoiding, something specific like calling a client or cleaning your desk. Set a timer for 5 minutes and start. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for motion. Write 1 sentence. Make 1 call. Fold 1 shirt. You'll find the hardest part was starting. Do this daily for a week, and watch how fear loses its grip. The Stoics knew that action is alchemy. It turns intention into reality, doubt into evidence. In a world that tempts you to stay safe, every step forward is a declaration. I am not my fears. I am my choices. But action isn't a straight line. Life throws curveballs, setbacks, doubts, obstacles that test your resolve. The Stoics didn't see these as roadblocks. They saw them as teachers. Let's explore how the barriers in our path become the very tools that sharpen us. Obstacles as opportunities for growth. Life is not a smooth highway. It's a rugged trail, full of rocks, roots, and sudden drops. Just when you think you're gaining traction, something trips you up. A job rejection, a health scare, a plan that crumbles. In those moments, it's easy to feel cursed, like the universe is conspiring against you. The Stoics, who faced their share of storms, saw it differently. Marcus Aurelius, scribbling amid war and plague, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't fluffy optimism. It's a radical reframing. Obstacles aren't interruptions. They're invitations to grow stronger, sharper, more resilient. In America, where we're taught to chase ease and instant results, this Stoic wisdom is a wake-up call. The challenges you face aren't here to break you. They're here to build you. Obstacles come in endless forms. For some, it's external, a missed promotion, a car breakdown, a family crisis. For others, it's internal, self-doubt, anxiety, the weight of past mistakes. In a 2024 survey by the National Institute of Mental Health, 57% of Americans reported feeling stuck due to life's challenges. We're conditioned to see these as stop signs, but the Stoics saw them as training grounds. Epictetus, who endured slavery before teaching philosophy, believed every difficulty hones your character, like a blade on a whetstone. The question isn't why is this happening, but How will I respond? Meet Daniel, a small business owner in Austin whose cafe nearly folded during a supply chain crisis. Orders dwindled, costs soared, and he faced laying off staff he'd known for years. Despair loomed, but Daniel remembered a Stoic idea. You can't control events, only your reaction. Instead of cursing fate, he saw the crisis as a challenge to adapt. He renegotiated with suppliers, launched a pop-up market to draw locals, and trained his team to pivot. The cafe survived not unscathed, but stronger. Daniel learned he could navigate chaos, a lesson no textbook could teach. His obstacle wasn't a dead end. It was a detour that revealed his resilience. This Stoic perspective flips the script. In America, we're sold a myth of frictionless success. Work hard, win big, no mess. But life doesn't work that way. The Stoics knew that growth demands resistance, like muscles straining against weight. Without obstacles, there's no strength. Think of Rachel, a single mom in Phoenix studying for her GED. Between night shifts and parenting, exhaustion is her constant companion. One evening, her laptop crashes mid-exam prep, erasing her notes. She could quit, most would. But Rachel channels Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. She borrows a neighbor's computer, rewrites her notes, and studies harder. When she passes her GED, the victory isn't just a diploma. It's the knowledge that she can face setbacks and keep going. Her obstacle didn't stop her. It shaped her. Obstacles also sharpen focus, a skill we've already explored. When life gets loud, deadlines pile up, critics snipe, doubts scream. It's tempting to scatter. The Stoics trained themselves to turn inward, finding clarity amid chaos. Seneca wrote that difficulties reveal where your attention falters. In a world of constant pings, this is gold. Consider a 2023 study from MIT. People who practiced attentional resilience, refocusing after disruptions, reported higher productivity and lower stress. The Stoics lived this. When a storm hit, they didn't curse the rain, they adjusted their sails. For us, that might mean silencing notifications during a tough project or meditating when anxiety spikes. Obstacles don't distract you, they teach you to double down on what matters. Here's the deeper truth. Obstacles are mirrors. They show you where you're brittle, where your patience thins, where your courage wavers. The Stoics embraced this reflection, using setbacks to refine themselves. Take Ethan, a recent grad in Chicago applying for jobs. After 50 rejections, he feels like a failure. But instead of spiraling, he recalls Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it. Ethan analyzes his applications, seeks feedback, and joins a networking group. Each rejection stings, but it also sharpens his approach. When he lands a role, it's not luck, it's growth, forged in the furnace of no. His obstacles weren't punishments. They were professors, teaching him persistence and humility. How do we apply this? Start by reframing one challenge this week. Maybe your car breaks down or a coworker undermines you. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" If your pitch gets rejected, use it to polish your skills. If your schedule implodes, practice prioritizing. Write down one lesson each obstacle reveals. Patience, adaptability, grit. Over time, you'll see difficulties not as walls but as stepping stones. The Stoics didn't dodge life's punches. They learned to roll with them, emerging tougher, wiser, ready for the next round. This mindset isn't about ignoring pain. Obstacles hurt, failure stings, loss aches. The Stoics felt this deeply but chose to focus on what they could control. Their response. In America, where we're taught to fix everything fast, this takes guts. It's saying, I may not choose the storm, but I choose how I sail. Every challenge you face is a chance to practice this, to grow not despite hardship, but because of it. As we carry this forward, we're building something bigger. A life where focus, belief, action, and resilience intertwine. But how do we sustain this when the world tempts us to quit? How do we stay true to ourselves when approval and comfort beckon? The answers lie in the quiet power of restraint and the relentless rhythm of consistency, waiting for us to claim them. restraint as true strength. In a world that rewards snap reactions and loud opinions, holding back feels like a lost art. We're surrounded by triggers. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A coworker's snarky comment stings. Your phone lights up with a heated thread on X. The urge to fire back, to vent, to do something is almost primal. But what if the most powerful move isn't lashing out or jumping in? It's choosing not to. The Stoics, those ancient architects of inner peace, saw restraint not as weakness, but as strength in its purest form. It's the wisdom to pause, to weigh your response, to decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. In America, where immediacy is king, restraint is a rebellion, a quiet, deliberate stand for your own peace and power. Restraint isn't about bottling up emotions or pretending you're above it all. It's about discernment, the art of knowing when to act and when to let things pass. Epictetus, a Stoic who endured slavery before teaching philosophy, warned that not every impulse deserves your obedience. Every day you're faced with choices. Snap at a rude cashier or breathe and move on. Argue online with a stranger or close the app. Indulge in frustration or redirect your focus. The Stoics believed that reacting to every slight surrenders your power. In a 2023 survey by the American Psychological Association, 68% of Americans admitted to regretting impulsive reactions, words they couldn't take back, fights that drained them. Restraint flips that script. It's not suppression. It's sovereignty, a refusal to let the world dictate your state of mind. Picture Maria, a marketing manager in Los Angeles with a fiery temper. During a team meeting, a colleague dismisses her idea with a condescending smirk. Her blood boils. She wants to call him out, to defend her work. But Maria's been reading Seneca, who wrote, "There is a quiet, subtle power in knowing you are capable of action, yet deliberately choosing not to act." So she pauses, counts to 10, and asks herself, "Is this worth my energy? Will arguing change anything?" The answer's no. Instead of escalating, she nods, refocuses, and later pitches her idea to a receptive boss. That pause didn't make Maria weak. It made her unstoppable. She didn't let someone else's ego hijack her day. That's restraint. Not a muzzle, but a shield. This kind of strength is countercultural in America, where we're conditioned to react fast. Post the witty comeback, clap back at the critic, prove you're right. Social media thrives on this, with algorithms rewarding outrage over thoughtfulness. A 2024 study from MIT found that posts with strong emotions spread 6 times faster than neutral ones. The world wants your knee-jerk response, but the Stoics would urge you to resist. They practiced what psychologists now call response inhibition, the ability to pause and choose deliberately. This isn't passivity, it's power. When you hold back from a petty fight, you're not losing. You're conserving your strength for battles that matter, like pursuing your goals or lifting up those you love. Restraint also protects your focus, that precious resource we've already explored. Every reaction you give to negativity is energy stolen from your priorities. Think of James, a college student in Atlanta juggling classes and a part-time job. His roommate constantly baits him into debates about politics, draining hours that could be spent studying. One night, James feels the familiar pull to argue, but he recalls Epictetus. Not every battle is worth fighting. He smiles, says, "Let's talk another time," and heads to the library. That choice isn't avoidance, it's strategy. James aces his exam not because he's smarter, but because he guarded his mental space. Restraint didn't make him smaller, it made him sharper. Here's a practice to weave restraint into your life. For 1 week, when you feel the urge to react, to criticism, a slight, a frustration, pause for 10 seconds. Breathe deeply and ask, is this worth my focus? Does this serve my values? Those 10 seconds are a fortress, giving you space to choose wisdom over impulse. Maybe you'll respond, maybe you won't, but it'll be your choice, not the world's. A 2022 study from Stanford showed that brief pauses reduce stress and improve decision-making. The Stoics knew this intuitively. They trained themselves to stand still amid chaos, like a lighthouse unmoved by crashing waves. Restraint isn't just about saying no to reactions, it's about saying yes to peace. In a culture that equates loudness with strength, choosing silence or stillness is radical. It's telling the world, you don't own me. It's freeing yourself from the cycle of drama and distraction, so you can pour your energy into what builds you up, your work, your relationships, your growth. The Stoics saw this as a moral duty, to govern yourself, not to be governed by every passing wind. Every time Maria pauses, every time James walks away, they're not just saving time, they're crafting a life of intention, one deliberate choice at a time. But restraint alone doesn't shape a life. It clears the path for something even more transformative, the steady, unglamorous work of showing up day after day. Let's turn to the force that turns dreams into reality, the quiet rhythm that builds greatness. Consistency as the key to greatness. In a world obsessed with overnight success, viral fame, instant wealth, six-pack abs in 6 weeks, it's easy to believe greatness comes in a flash. We scroll through stories of prodigies and disruptors, thinking they cracked the code while we're stuck grinding. But the Stoics, those masters of enduring wisdom, saw through this illusion. They knew that true greatness isn't born in a single, dazzling moment. It's forged in the quiet, relentless repetition of disciplined choices. Consistency, not brilliance, is the chisel that carves a life of purpose. In America, where we're tempted to chase shortcuts, the Stoic call to persist, especially when no one's watching, is a radical act of faith in who you can become. The Stoics didn't romanticize motivation. Marcus Aurelius, leading an empire through crisis, wrote, "You become what you give your attention to day after day." He didn't wait to feel like ruling. He showed up again and again because that's what duty demanded. In a 2023 survey by Gallup, 70% of Americans said they struggle to stay disciplined without external rewards. We start strong, new year, new gym membership, but when the spark fades, so do our efforts. The Stoics would nod knowingly. Motivation is a fickle guest, visiting in bursts but rarely staying. Consistency, though, is a steadfast friend. There when you're tired, bored, or unsure. It's the choice to act not because you feel like it, but because you've decided who you are. Consider Anna, a writer in Seattle with a day job and a novel in her heart. She's no stranger to excuses. Long hours, family demands, the siren call of Netflix. But Anna reads Seneca, "Knowledge is only a seed, action waters it." So she commits to 1 page a day no matter what. Some nights, it's midnight, and her eyes burn, but she writes. Some pages are awful, others glow, but she keeps going. 2 years later, she holds a finished manuscript. Not a bestseller, but a testament to her resolve. Anna's not a genius. She's consistent. Her novel exists not because she waited for inspiration, but because she showed up day after day when it was easier to quit. This is the Stoic secret. Small, repeated actions compound into something massive. A 2021 study from University College London found that habits form through consistent repetition, not intensity. 10 push-ups daily for a month does more for your strength than a single marathon session. The Stoics lived this. They saw life as a mosaic, each tiny choice a tile. Skip a day and the picture blurs. Persist, and it sharpens into something breathtaking. In America, where we're sold, transform your life in 30 days. Consistency feels slow, even boring. But it's not. It's alchemy, turning ordinary moments into extraordinary outcomes. Let's meet Tom, a dad in Cleveland who wants to get healthy. At 40, he's out of shape, intimidated by gym bros and diet fads. He stumbles across Epictetus. First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. Tom decides to be someone who moves daily. He starts small, 10 minutes of stretching each morning. Some days he adds a walk, others just the stretches. Rain, stress, late nights, no excuses. He tracks it on a calendar, each X a quiet victory. 6 months later, Tom's down 20 pounds, but the real win is deeper. He trusts himself. His body's stronger, but his character's ironclad, built not in a sprint but in a steady march. Consistency isn't glamorous. No one posts day 47 of flossing on Instagram, but it's reliable. The Stoics knew that character isn't forged in rare heroics but in daily choices. How you handle a bad mood, a tight deadline, a silent room. When you commit to a small habit, you're not just building a skill, you're building self-respect. Take Emily, a student in Miami struggling with anxiety. She starts meditating for 5 minutes each night, inspired by Seneca's call to master the mind. Some days her thoughts race. Others, she finds calm. But she never skips. Over weeks, her anxiety doesn't vanish, but it softens, and she feels a new steadiness. That 5-minute ritual isn't just meditation. It's proof she can keep her word, even when it's hard. Here's a practice to harness consistency. Choose one small habit that aligns with who you want to be. 5 minutes of journaling, 10 push-ups, a daily gratitude note. Make it so simple you can't fail, but meaningful enough to matter. Commit to it for 30 days, no exceptions. Track it, use a notebook, a wall calendar, an app. Each day you follow through, you're not just checking a box. You're casting a vote for your future self. A 2022 study from Harvard showed that consistent microhabits boost self-efficacy, the belief you can achieve your goals. The Stoics would agree. Every repetition is a stone in the fortress of your character. Consistency also amplifies everything we've explored. Focus, belief, action, resilience. Without it, focus scatters, belief wanes, action stalls, obstacles overwhelm. But with it, you become unstoppable, not because you're flawless, but because you keep going. In America, where we're distracted by shiny promises, consistency is your anchor. It's the quiet promise you make to yourself. I will show up, not for applause, but for me. As we build on this foundation, we're ready to ask a bigger question. How do we steer this disciplined life toward true purpose? How do we ensure our focus, belief, and actions align with a vision only we can define? The answer lies in the art of self-direction, waiting to guide us forward. Self-direction as the compass of life. Picture yourself standing at a crossroads. One path is paved with the expectations of others, your boss's demands, your family's hopes, the relentless hum of social media telling you who you should be. Another path is quieter, less certain, guided only by a voice within. In a world that pulls you in every direction, choosing your own way feels like an act of defiance. The Stoics, those ancient navigators of life's storms, understood this deeply. They taught that without self-direction, a clear, intentional sense of where you're headed, you'll drift, swept along by circumstances or someone else's agenda. Self-direction isn't just a skill. It's your compass, your North Star, guiding you through chaos to a life that's truly yours. In America, where distractions and pressures compete for your soul, this Stoic principle is your lifeline to purpose. The Stoics believed that a life without direction is a life half-lived. Seneca, a philosopher who faced exile and betrayal, wrote, "If a man does not know to which port he is sailing, no wind is favorable." In modern America, that wisdom cuts sharp. We're bombarded with choices, careers, lifestyles, even identities, each promising fulfillment. Yet a 2023 survey by Pew Research found that 59% of Americans feel directionless, at least sometimes, caught in a cycle of reacting to life rather than shaping it. Without a clear sense of purpose, you're not just busy, you're aimless, pouring energy into tasks, trends, or opinions that don't reflect who you are. The Stoics would see this as a tragedy, not of fate, but of choice. You're not a victim of the world's noise. You're its captain, if you choose to steer. Self-direction starts with knowing what you stand for. It's not rigid control, like a train locked to tracks, but a flexible clarity, like a sailor adjusting sails without losing sight of the horizon. Think of Clara, a nurse in Philadelphia who feels trapped in her job. She's good at it, but her heart pulls toward teaching yoga, a dream she's buried under shoulds, stable income, family approval, fear of starting over. One evening, she reads Epictetus, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Clara decides to define her port, a life where she helps others heal through movement. She doesn't quit nursing overnight. She takes a weekend yoga certification course. That step, small but deliberate, shifts her course. Over months, she teaches evening classes, each one a choice to steer toward her values, not society's script. Clara's not there yet, but she's moving, guided by her own compass. This kind of clarity isn't found in a single epiphany. It's built through reflection. The Stoics practiced daily reviews, measuring their actions against their principles. In America, where we're addicted to speed, slowing down to reflect feels foreign, even indulgent. But it's essential. A 2022 study from Harvard Business Review found that regular self-reflection boosts decision-making and reduces burnout. The Stoics knew this long ago. They saw reflection as a rudder, keeping you on course. Here's a practice to try. Every Sunday evening, carve out 10 minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions. Where did I lose direction this week? What pulled me off track? Distraction, fear, others' expectations. What can I do differently next week to stay true to my values? Write your answers, then set 3 intentions for the week ahead. Specific, meaningful goals, like listen fully in every conversation, or spend 30 minutes on my side project. These aren't resolutions, they're anchors, grounding you in purpose. Self-direction also means saying no. In a culture that glorifies yes to opportunities, invites, even notifications, declining feels like failure. But the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, prized discernment. They knew that every yes to something trivial is a no to something vital. Consider Ryan, a graphic designer in Denver swamped by freelance gigs. He's flattered by the work but stretched thin, neglecting his own art. One day, he recalls Seneca's warning: a life without direction serves others' agendas. Ryan starts declining projects that don't spark joy, freeing evenings to paint. His income dips briefly, but his portfolio grows, landing him a dream client. By saying no to overload, Ryan said yes to himself. That's self-direction, not pleasing everyone, but honoring your path. This practice isn't easy. America's hustle culture rewards busyness, not intention. Social media amplifies it, with influencers preaching grind harder, while rarely mentioning think deeper. A 2024 study from the University of Michigan found that overcommitment leads to stress and lower life satisfaction. The Stoics would agree. Without self-direction, you're a ship tossed by every wave, colleagues' demands, viral trends, your own impulses. But with it, you're steady, choosing your course even when storms rage. Clara's yoga classes, Ryan's paintings, they're not just hobbies. They're proof that a directed life, however slow, moves mountains. Self-direction ties together everything we've explored: focus, belief, action, resilience, restraint, consistency. It's the thread that weaves them into a tapestry of purpose. Without it, focus scatters, belief wavers, actions misfire. With it, you're not just living, you're leading, crafting a story that's yours alone. In a world that wants to write your script, self-direction is your pen, letting you author a life of meaning, one intentional choice at a time. But direction is only half the journey. What happens when you've charted your course, faced fears, and built habits? Yet life still tests you. The Stoics didn't promise smooth seas. They promised something greater. A self so strong it stands firm no matter what comes. Let's discover how to build that unshakable core. The unshakable self. In the end, what are we building? Not a perfect life. Perfect lives are myths, sold by influencers and airbrushed ads. Not a fortress of wealth or fame. Those crumble under scrutiny. The Stoics, those timeless guides through human struggle, aimed higher. An unshakable self, a core so resilient that no storm, grief, failure, betrayal can topple it. This isn't about dodging life's blows. It's about becoming someone who meets them with calm, clarity, and courage. In America, where we're taught to seek happiness in externals, like promotions, possessions, the Stoic vision is radical. Your peace, your strength, your worth, they're not out there. They're within, forged through thousands of small, deliberate choices. This is the heart of Stoicism. Not a philosophy to read, but a life to live, a self to shape, unyielding to the chaos of the world. The unshakable self is the Stoics' ultimate promise. Marcus Aurelius, facing war and plague, wrote that you could build an inner citadel, a refuge no external force could breach. In a 2024 survey by the National Institute of Mental Health, 62% of Americans reported feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty, job insecurity, cultural divides, personal doubts. We're not so different from the Romans, navigating a world that feels unsteady. But the Stoics didn't flinch. They taught that while you can't control fate, you can control your response, how you think, what you value, who you choose to be. The unshakable self isn't born in a single moment. It's built brick by brick, through choices that align with your deepest principles. Let's meet Sarah, a teacher in Chicago who's faced her share of storms. A divorce left her financially strained and questioning her worth. Colleagues' gossip stung. Her kids' struggles weighed heavy. But Sarah discovers Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. She starts small, choosing focus over distraction, grading papers instead of scrolling X. She builds belief, showing up for herself with daily walks, even when despair tugs. She acts, enrolling in a counseling course to help others, despite fear of failure. She practices restraint, biting her tongue when gossip tempts her to join in. She stays consistent, journaling nightly to process her pain. Week by week, Sarah's not just surviving. She's thriving, not because life got easier, but because she's grown stronger. Her unshakable self isn't perfect, but it's hers, a lighthouse standing tall amid crashing waves. This strength comes from accumulation, not revelation. The Stoics saw life as a series of votes, every choice a ballot for the person you're becoming. When you focus instead of scattering, you vote for clarity. When you believe despite doubt, you vote for trust. When you act despite fear, you vote for courage. When you restrain instead of reacting, you vote for wisdom. When you persist day after day, you vote for resilience. These votes aren't loud. No one cheers when you skip a pointless argument or finish a workout alone. But they stack, like stones in a wall, until you've built something impenetrable. A 2023 study from Yale found that cumulative small actions, like gratitude practices or goal setting, build psychological resilience over time. The Stoics knew this intuitively. Character isn't a gift, it's a craft. Consider Michael, a veteran in Texas rebuilding after PTSD. The world feels heavy, memories haunt, crowds overwhelm. But he reads Seneca, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Michael starts with one choice, a 10-minute meditation each morning. When panic rises, he pauses, breathes, restrains the urge to spiral. He acts, joining a support group despite shame. He reflects weekly, setting intentions to connect with his kids. Some days he stumbles, anger flares, old wounds ache. But he keeps voting for patience, for hope, for healing. Over years, Michael's not fixed, but he's unshakable. A man who faces life's chaos with quiet resolve. His strength isn't in erasing pain. It's in meeting it head-on, anchored by choices only he can make. Building this self isn't glamorous. America loves big wins, Super Bowl moments, viral breakthroughs. The Stoics valued the mundane. How you handle a rude driver, a sleepless night, a broken plan. Sarah's walks, Michael's meditations. They're ordinary, yet transformative. Each choice is a chisel, shaping a self that doesn't sway with fortune. When a boss criticizes you, the unshakable self doesn't crumble, it learns. When a friend betrays you, it doesn't harden, it forgives or lets go. When life feels unfair, it doesn't rage, it redirects, finding meaning in what you control. Here's a practice to start. Every evening, ask, what today was outside my control, and how did I respond? Write it down. A late bus, a harsh word, a personal doubt. Note your reaction, then one way you could respond better tomorrow. Maybe you snapped at a coworker. Tomorrow, pause and listen. Maybe you dwelled on a failure. Tomorrow, focus on one step forward. Over weeks, this builds a ledger of growth, proof that your power lies not in the world, but in you. The Stoics lived this, reviewing their days to refine their character. In a world that tempts you to react, this practice is your anchor, rooting you in purpose. The unshakable self isn't untouchable. It feels pain, fear, loss, but it doesn't break. It's the sum of countless choices to focus, believe, act, restrain, persist, direct. In America, where we're sold happiness as a product, this self is your rebellion, a declaration that your peace is yours to build, your strength yours to forge. Sarah's teaching, Michael's healing. They're not endpoints, but milestones in a lifelong journey to become someone who stands tall. Not because life is kind, but because you are unbreakable. As we carry this unshakable self forward, we face a final question. How do we integrate these lessons into a life that endures? How do we weave focus, belief, action, and resilience into a legacy that outlasts the noise? The answer lies in the quiet wisdom of living deliberately, moment by moment, choice by choice. Life moves fast, too fast sometimes. Days blur into weeks, and before you know it, you're caught in a whirlwind of reactions, chasing moments you barely understand. A harsh word from a colleague stings, a missed deadline gnaws, a news headline spikes your anxiety. In the rush, it's easy to lose yourself, to feel like a passenger in your own story, swept along by forces beyond your control. The Stoics, those ancient sages who wrestled with their own chaotic world, offered a simple yet profound antidote: reflection. Not grand soul-searching retreats, but a quiet, daily practice of pausing to ask, what today was outside my control, and how did I respond? This question, small as it seems, is a key, one that unlocks not just clarity, but inner peace. In America, where we're wired for speed and answers, this Stoic ritual is a rebellion, a way to anchor yourself in a world that never stops spinning. The Stoics saw reflection as essential, not optional. Marcus Aurelius, emperor by day and philosopher by night, ended each evening reviewing his actions, not to judge himself harshly, but to grow wiser. He wrote in his meditations that you must examine your day to align with your values. In a 2024 survey by the American Psychological Association, 73% of Americans reported feeling disconnected from their purpose, often because they rarely pause to process their lives. We're so busy doing, working, scrolling, worrying, that we forget to be. Reflection bridges that gap. It's not about dwelling on mistakes or chasing perfection. It's about understanding what shapes you, so you can choose better tomorrow. Let's meet Laura, a single mom in Atlanta juggling a retail job and 2 kids. Her days are relentless. Spilled juice, late shifts, bills piling up. By bedtime, she's drained, tempted to zone out with her phone. But Laura stumbles across Seneca's advice: examine your day, and you'll find peace in what you control. She starts a simple ritual. Each night, she grabs a notebook and writes one sentence answering, what today was beyond me, and how did I handle it? One evening, she notes a customer's rudeness that rattled her. She snapped back, then felt guilty. Reflecting, she sees the outburst wasn't about the customer. It was her exhaustion talking. The next day, when a similar moment arises, she pauses, breathes, and responds calmly. That shift isn't magic. It's awareness, born in the quiet of reflection. Over weeks, Laura's not just reacting less. She's living more, finding peace not in a perfect life, but in her power to choose. This practice is deceptively simple, yet it's transformative. The Stoics believe that peace comes not from controlling the world, good luck with that, but from mastering your response. In America, we're sold the idea that happiness lies in fixing externals. Better job, bigger house, fewer problems. A 2023 study from Harvard found that reflective practices, like journaling, boost emotional resilience more than chasing external goals. The Stoics knew this intuitively. They saw life as a classroom, each day a lesson. When you reflect, you're not just replaying events. You're studying them, asking, what did this teach me? How can I grow? That question turns chaos into clarity, pain into purpose. Consider Jamal, a barista in Seattle with dreams of owning a cafe. He's passionate but overwhelmed. Rejections from banks, long hours, self-doubt creeping in. One night, he reads Epictetus. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Jamal starts reflecting daily, jotting down what he couldn't control and how he responded. Alone denial stings, he spiraled into worry, skipping his business plan revisions. Reflecting, he realizes worry stole his focus. The next day, he skips the pity party and updates his plan instead. Another rejection comes, but this time he nods, learns, keeps going. Months later, a small grant comes through. Not enough for a cafe, but a start. The real win, Jamal's peace, rooted not in outcomes, but in his ability to respond with intention. His notebook isn't just paper. It's proof he's steering his life. Reflection also deepens everything we've explored. Focus, belief, action, resilience, restraint, consistency, direction. Without it, focus drifts, belief wanes, actions misalign. With it, you see patterns. Maybe you notice you snap when stressed, reflection helps you pause next time. Maybe you avoid risks, reflection nudges you to act. A 2022 study from the Journal of Positive Psychology showed that daily reflection increases self-awareness, making you 20% more likely to stick to goals. The Stoics lived this. They didn't just act, they learned from acting, refining their character like a sculptor chiseling stone. Here's how to start. Every evening, take 5 minutes. Ask, what today was outside my control, and how did I respond? Maybe traffic jammed your commute. You cursed the wheel, stressed all day. Maybe a friend canceled plans. You felt rejected, scrolled X for distraction. Write it down, not to brood, but to understand. Then note one way to respond better tomorrow. Breathe through delays. Call another friend. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for progress. Keep a journal, a note on your phone, even a mental tally. Over weeks, you'll see your power grow. Not over life's events, but over your peace. Laura's calm, Jamal's persistence. They're not accidents. They're choices, clarified in the mirror of reflection. This practice isn't about guilt. It's about growth. The Stoics didn't beat themselves up. They studied themselves, seeking wisdom, not shame. In America, where we're quick to judge ourselves, others, reflection is your sanctuary. It's where you learn that peace isn't found in a quiet world, but in a quiet mind. Each night, you're not just closing a day, you're opening a door to a stronger, clearer you. We've walked a long road together, from the Stoic pillars of focus, belief, and action to the deeper layers of resilience, restraint, consistency, direction, and reflection. Each step, each choice builds toward one truth. Your life's quality lies not in what the world hands you, but in how you shape it from within. The Stoics didn't promise a life without pain or chaos. They promised you could become someone equal to it, a self so anchored that no storm could uproot it. In America, where we're drowning in noise, ads, opinions, endless to-dos, this wisdom isn't just relevant, it's revolutionary. It's a call to stop chasing and start building, to craft a life not of fleeting highs, but of lasting peace. Let's weave it together. Focus clears your mind, letting you see what matters. Your anchors, not the world's distractions. Belief fuels your courage, built through small acts that prove you're enough. Action bridges dreams to reality, silencing fear with motion. Obstacles sharpen you, turning barriers into lessons. Restraint guards your energy, choosing wisdom over impulse. Consistency carves your character, day by unglamorous day. Direction steers your path, aligning choices with purpose. Reflection grounds you, turning chaos into clarity. Together, they forge the unshakable self, a person who doesn't just survive life's waves, but sails through them, steady and sure. So, how do we live this in 2025 America, where screens flash, deadlines loom, and comparison creeps? Start small, but start now. Tomorrow morning, set 3 priorities before touching your phone. Write them down, let them guide you. When doubt whispers, act anyway. Send that email, take that walk, say what's true. When obstacles hit, don't curse. Ask, what's this teaching me? Pause before reacting. 10 seconds can save hours of regret. Commit to one tiny habit. 5 minutes of stillness, 10 pages read, and do it for 30 days, no excuses. Reflect each night, not to judge, but to grow. These aren't hacks, they're choices, each one a vote for the life you want. Here's my advice. Don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't exist. Life is messy, unpredictable, beautiful. The Stoics didn't live in a vacuum. They faced wars, loss, betrayal, yet built peace within. You can too. You don't need more followers, more money, more time. You need less noise, less doubt, less hesitation. Strip away what doesn't serve you. Gossip, grudges, endless scrolling. Pour your energy into what does: learning, loving, creating. The world will keep shouting, but you don't have to answer. Your power lies in your choices right now, today. To bring this to life, I'm inviting you to join the journey on Zenlight 8. If this resonated, if you felt a spark to live deeper, truer, subscribe and hit the bell. Let's build this unshakable self together, one choice at a time. And in the comments, share one word that captures what you're taking away. For me, it's presence, being here fully in this moment. What's yours? Let's inspire each other to live not just louder, but wiser.